Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. You will notice a few slight changes if you're watching on YouTube. In association with Lucky Star Gin, as always, we've changed platforms this week because of the horrendous recording issues, and it hasn't been off to a great start so far. I'm your host, Mike, and with me on today's panel we have Gabriel and Joe, and we're going to be discussing the disappointing defeat to Forest Green Rovers, and we look forward to Swindon Town at their place. Please remember, join in the conversation, share, discuss, answer the comments and all the rest of it on social media. It just helps spread the love a little bit and gets more people interested in the podcast. Joe, it's been a little while for you. It's only August, but how was results day for you?
Thank you for remembering, Mike. It's been a good month. Results was good. Very, very happy with what I got. And it sets me up perfectly for going into sixth form, which starts tomorrow. So,
Nice.
I was hoping this weekend would have been a nice hurrah at the end of the summer holidays. But alas, Forest Green, or maybe we ruined it for ourselves. But back to school tomorrow. But results, very happy with them. And it's, as always, a privilege to be on the podcast.
Thank you. And Gabriel, we're supposed to be on last week, I think it was. It was actually May since we last saw you. You had a tennis tournament last week. How'd you get on?
Oh no, I lost the game. It was for over 50s. It was the semifinals, and the guy who beat me won the tournament. He was a former football player, and he was running like hell. And that's the part when I don't know what to do. I don't have weapons to beat guys who do this.
At least you lost to the winner.
It was a pretty bad loss, 6-1, 6-1, 6-2.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
At least I lost to the winner, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so a little bit of club news. Ladies side won today 3-0 against AFC Crawley, which is obviously great considering the result previous week. Unfortunately, there was quite a bad injury, it sounds, to Chloe Fowler, who last update was in hospital on gas, air and morphine. So hopefully she's not as that bad, but best wishes to her. Obviously, there was Johnny's book in the fan zone. If you missed it, there may be, if I've got things working properly, maybe a link popping up on the screen in a minute. And that should take you to Amazon, and you can then buy the book. The little bit of commission wouldn't come out of Johnny's end, it comes out of Amazon's end. If anyone could actually click and tell me it works, that would be wonderful at some point, because then I'll stop doing them if they don't work. But there's the link to Johnny's book. And I think I might have given the impression that I was signing copies of his book in the fan zone, but it wasn't. It was just his name got taken out on other social medias. So it was a book signing by Added Six was on Twitter, but it wasn't on all the others as well. So don't worry, I wasn't signing Johnny's book. I'm not that bad. Also, we have got the coach travel over the next few weeks. Obviously, details are on the forum. You've got Swindon, Accrington and Crawley, sort of 25 to 45 quid. Oh no, Crawley's 20 quid. So contact Ian on the forum if you want to make a trip for any of those. And other news, the 50-50 ticket, I think it's been brilliant recently because I thought I was really close, but I wasn't. I was actually miles off. But it was 190 quid yesterday, as opposed to, I think it was only 90 quid against Notts County. So well done, everyone. It's really good to help raise the money for the supporters club, and you could win potentially up to sort of almost 200 quid for a pound. So keep buying those tickets, and if you want any help selling them, or if you want to help selling them, they're always looking out for them. So have a little chat with them in the hub. So now I'm going to try and work out if I can clear this thing off the screen, because I don't want it there the whole time. Obviously, I want to support Johnny's book, but I want to do other things too. On to yesterday. I did get 11 out of 11. There was a tiny little bit of a cheat because I assumed Ryan Jackson would be in for Kizzy, but I happened to go into the bar as Matt was going through the team, so I hesitated a little bit and finished it off. It was the only one I got wrong. But what were your thoughts ahead of kickoff, Gabriel?
Oh, after the win on Tuesday, that was very good and very promising. I hope that we will end the losing streak. 4 defeats in a row, it's quite a lot. The team looked good in several games, and I thought the luck would be on our side too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Joe, were you a bit surprised at the lineup? I mean, Nguessan held his own against League One opposition, and then back to the bench. I mean, I figured it was always likely, but what were your thoughts?
I don't know I don't know if you're a psychic, mate, but you got my thought exactly. I thought Nguessan's performance, or I wasn't there, but I from what I've heard on Tuesday's night, was really impressive. And I thought he might get a chance because with Eastie out and Harry playing a lot of games recently, it's been a heavy month for August in terms of fixtures. I thought he might get a break. Obviously got a bit of a break at Wickham, but I thought he was really impressive. I'm kind of maybe expecting O'Brien to go out. I know he scored on Wednesday, but I think Scott Cashkit has got that thorn in the side that maybe we needed yesterday. But yeah, I thought go with the same back four, try and keep a bit of stability, and put trust in the side that did well the other night. But it seemed like a side that were confident as a unit even before kickoff. I thought it was a side with a consistent back four, knew each other. Josh Coley and Amari getting to know, like a good partnership on the wings, and then kind of up front starting to find that partnership which we really do need. I thought it was a good team, but I'd maybe like to see, I said Ryan Jackson and Nguessan and maybe even Cashkit in, but if it was different, I don't know if it would affect the result.
Yeah, I mean it's always tricky. Obviously, we're all football managers. There were a few things. I mean, first of all, I love Forest Green's kit. I did like that kit. That's a positive. But during the first half, I found it interesting with Matt's comments afterwards, where he said he wasn't happy with the first sort of 15, 20 minutes. Whereas a lot of people were like, we did all right for about 15 or 20 minutes. and then we sort of petered off. I mean, how were you feeling in the first half, Gabriel? Were you still that confident that we were going to nick it? Or did you kind of think, oh, we're in trouble here?
Well, we started well. I felt that we started well, and the main chances were in the first part of the first half. So for the first half, I remained optimistic, and I was hoping that we will improve with the second half, which didn't happen. We weren't there in the second part.
No, I mean we had chances. I think a couple of people caught the corner from Rob that almost dipped under the bar, but the keeper actually made a great save just last second. I mean, how were you feeling at halftime, Joe? Were you confident, not confident?
I'm going to go away from this optimism youth bias that I often take. I was not particularly confident, especially due to the fact that someone around me thought that Luka Modric was playing in their midfield due to the fact that their centre mid had a very similar Luka Modric haircut. And I thought, well, if it is Luka Modric, we're not going to have a chance. And to be honest, we didn't really have a chance. I thought we weren't bad. We were much worse in the second half, especially last half an hour. We were we weren't winning any second balls, and it just didn't seem particularly like we were going to score. Like even the Amari one that hit the crossbar was offside, and I don't love criticising players, but Harry was lost on the ball multiple times. They would like if the ball there was so many gaps in midfield, and they could just run through them, and we just looked leggy, and it seemed like our only option at that point was just to get it back to Jack Rose and hoof it up the pitch towards Harry and hope a flick on and go our way. And that isn't good football. And they were playing some good football. And to be honest, like actually we might have had like there wasn't a clear-cut chance in the first half. But I think if they realised, right, we're dominating midfield right now, we can take our time, which they did in the first 20 minutes of the second half. They could have easily, the way they were playing, could have been 1 or 2 up. So I wasn't happy going to half time. I was a bit resigned to the fact that we need to change, otherwise nothing's going to come out of this game.
Yeah. I mean, it was all a bit samey in the second half as well. Gabriel was, as we said, it's sort of hoofing it up. Jack had a great game. He was man of the match. Really unfortunate with the goal, I think Jack was, because he just made a save and then they followed it up and they scored from that and it kind of went underneath him. Were you hopeful we were getting it back, or were you just like, oh, well, that's it, 1-0 now, we're done?
I don't know how to say. There were 3 games in which we were scored so many goals, and we said the defense is the problem. And now we had 2 games in which we only scored once, while the defense held, if you look only at the numbers, quite well, being scored once in 2 games. So you would expect to be able to score, especially at home. But the way the game looked, we didn't look able to score.
Yeah. I mean, some of the comments I've kind of had is a fair point about 4-4-2. Obviously, when it's not working, everyone hates it. But someone did kind of say, well, it seems we stopped to do the pressing, which went very well with our 4-4-2. So we weren't pressing as much. Were you feeling that, Joe, yesterday, or?
Yeah, we just didn't look like a team that had a want to win. Like, I know we do want to win, and I'm sure all the players do. But from a supporter's point of view, there seemed to be very little passion across the pitch. Like they were playing to win the match. It felt like they were waiting for something to happen and they can take advantage of it. Like, I can't remember what it was. I was standing on the grandstand side of the ground, and I have never seen Matt do that much shouting, especially in the second half. And the reactions, normally it's straight on it, run over to them, or if it's press, so it's like whoever it is. And it was often when we were defending, the defense just like looked just flat. We just sat back. We didn't really have any passion. Like Josh Coley was getting annoyed. Him and Joe Kizzy were just not linking up at all. Like I could see them getting annoyed at each other, which is something I don't really see a lot in our team. People getting annoyed at each other. It seems like a pretty supportive team across the team. So yeah, I don't know whether it's the 4-4-2 because obviously you could say Notts County flash in the pan, but we can do it. They were down to 10, but we could have been down to 10 and 1-0. Like 5-1, we had the pressing, we had the togetherness, everyone was backing each other, and it just looked easy. Since then, it's like, right, we can do it. Do we want to? Like, they look like again, Kizzy looks a shadow of his former self. He doesn't look like he has the belief to win headers. He's not that presence anymore, and it's a bit worrying because it just looked like a team who, as soon as the goal went in, they were just defeated and they didn't have a way to get back into the game, which is it's sad to watch because it's not that it was less frustration, more it's just confusion as to what's happening because there's definitely something not going right, whether it's the tactics, which I don't think it is because we've shown we can use it. I don't know whether it's turnover of players. I don't know whether it's the right players playing together. I think that something definitely needs to change, and I know a lot of comments are saying that from yesterday and today.
Yeah, well, I won't come to that yet. Gabriel, what do you think about the 4-4-2 and the pressing? And I mean,
Well, I agree with what Joe said, that it looks to be also a problem of motivation against bigger teams. Yeah, we won against 2 League One. Play against league position, and we're no longer have the same motivation, or so it looks from outside. I remember also last year when we got to have a real relegation issue, the team focused and played 10 great games. And from relegation candidates, we became playoff candidates. And then we fell again, out of concentration or whatever, out of motivation. I don't know.
Well, I mean, someone did raise a very valid point before we go on to what Joe was just discussing there, is the atmosphere compared to Tuesday, where Matt made a very strong point about you could hear the crowd, and obviously if you watch it back on iFollow, you can hear the crowd. Whereas yesterday, it just seemed like everyone was waiting to be entertained rather than do it. I mean, I know it's not exactly a cauldron of like Fenerbahce in Turkey, but is it a case of the atmosphere was flat and therefore the players were flat, or are we right to wait players to entertain us, to get us going?
You go first.
Okay. The players should get the motivation from themselves, from their coach, from their leaders. We miss Eastmond, that is very clear. And there's no leader to this group at the moment. Louis John just came back, and he's not very confident, in my opinion, with his game yet. And Ben Goodleaf was, I felt that also last year he was sort of a leader of the team, but I don't know. He should step in. Maybe he should have had also the have been named captain of the team, so that he has this formal authority.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that at the moment there's a leader of this group.
Joe, what about
especially
yourself?
with all the newcomers.
Sorry.
Yeah, anything I was going to, I completely agree, Gabriel. I think the only other thing I would say is that, like, the 3-0 loss against Wimbledon, it's a bit of a humbling. Like, to lose in such a flat manner on Derby Day, packed out crowd. The atmosphere was good that day, and it felt like the players didn't give anything. And I think the atmosphere is partly due to the fact the run we're going on. We don't like, as a fan, I didn't really know what to go into yesterday, what to expect. Were we going to get the performances that we got at Notts, Cambridge and Wickham? Or were we going to get the performances that we got at the end of Newport, most of Wimbledon, bits of Gillingham? Like, I think overall, there isn't a leader in that group. And I don't know who the vice captain is. I think it's kind of a group responsibility.
It's Harry, I think.
Like, obviously, I reckon Harry's the leader in that group. Yeah, I think it's Harry, but he just didn't seem to be leading. And I don't know whether that's a change needs to be made, because Eastman's a massive loss. I don't think I ever realised, because he's not injured that much. He was pretty much ever present last season. I don't think I realised how much of an integral part to that team he is, because right now we look lost as a team. Like, if I had to give it, I'd give, like, Jack was the player of the match by far, but he was shouting to his defence, especially Louis, as Gabriel said, who just looks not confident. Like, we know how strong an attacker he can be, and he's been out for ages. And I think we had the same thing with Goody a few games after he came back from his ACL last year, but we were on a winning run. When you come back, I think, from injury and you're losing in the league and you've won 1-18 or something, that's not an easy thing to do and come in and be at centre-back, such an integral part of the team. So maybe Omar Shomi is kind of, we have to put him in for a while and let Louis just start building up the games, like the game against Aston Villa, let him play there. Obviously, we love the Papa Johns, but or is it not called that anymore? I'm not sure. But
No,
we've got to figure it out.
Yeah, Okay, I've not left enough time really to go into this too deeply, but you're right. There's been lots of comments of a changes needed. People, for the first time I can hear in ages, Matt's got to be the change. Now, for me, obviously, I'm hugely biased, but I think someone whose brief was to keep us in the National League, getting us promoted and raising all those expectations, it would be really harsh to start putting him in the firing line. And who else is there that could do what Matt Gray does? But obviously, I'm keen to hear your thoughts as well. Gabriel, do you want to go?
Well, I have one issue to raise. I feel that in the first year there were 3 substitutions allowed, and that played to our advantage, as Matt basically hates substitution. That's my conclusion after following him for these 3 years. He hates substituting players. This year, the last 2 years, there are 5 substitutions allowed, which is a game changer. You can have fresh legs at the 50th minute. You can throw 2 players in. I remember in the 80s, I don't know if you were following, you are not following probably because you're younger than me. You have the national team of England had the famous player called Brooking that was well known that he will be substituted every game after 1 hour because he couldn't last the full game. Now you can use the 5 substitution to have 2 players that you can tell run for me in 60 minutes what you will run in 90. You can run in 90 because I will substitute you after the hour. You can keep 1 or 2 emergency substitutions for the end of the game, but you can pre-set at least 2 substitutions for 1 hour of the game and have a set of fresh legs during the second half. And I feel that this is what makes the difference. In the first year with 3 substitutions, we were losing at the end or winning at the end, and it was an equilibrium. But since last year with 5 substitutions, keep losing the end of the game constantly.
Yeah.
Because we're not using a substitution. We're going at Barrow, and we're playing whole game 10 against 11, and we make 1 substitution until they score the 2 goals. We play at Newport. We're playing bad. We make 1 substitution and 4 in the 85th minute. What can you expect from the 4 players thrown for 5 minutes in the game? So I think this is an issue. No, I'm not saying about changing the coach. I'm not saying we appreciate him as a coach and as a person and for everything that he did in these years at Sutton. I'm saying this is a point that he should improve.
Okay, fair enough. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I've not been following Sutton as long as you have, Mike, but I've only had Matt ever as the only manager for Sutton. Sutton that had a manager before that as well for ages. So we like to keep our managers, and I agree. The way he's taken us, and I think he's a quality manager because he's been linked with numerous other jobs, much further up the pyramid to much bigger teams. But I think the next few weeks are going to be hard. Swindon away, in the form they're in and the way they're playing, it will be interesting. They drew with Doncaster 0-0 yesterday, who are below us, the only team below us. I think it will be interesting to see how that happens. I think he's struggling to get the motivation into the players because he seemed more stressed. I brought a family member to the game yesterday, and he said, he's come to 3 games. And they said that, it's the most stressed, almost vocal he's ever been. And whether that's the thing that the team he's built over the summer aren't quite getting on with him and working with him in the way that he thought they would, then maybe we need to have a look at it. Because I think if we take Sutton out of it, if we take the fact that let's make it an EFL thing, 1 win in 18, most other clubs, he would be really, really under the cosh, if not already gone. Now, I don't want to see him go. I'd love to see him stay because of what he's done. But I think Swindon, Accrington, MK, Crawley, even that Aston Villa game in the Papa John's, see if we can rotate the squad and find a bit of consistency there. They will be crucial games because there's a point, I think, where you've got to say, right, we've got to change something, and we can't change the players. We're not in a transfer window. There's not much change with the coaching staff. The only thing that we really can change is the manager. I don't want to see him go, I think we should give him more time, but we need a result soon because he'll start to lose the back of the fans, as we are slowly seeing, which is not a lovely thing to see.
No. I mean, I have my own thoughts on that because I think what's the point of changing the manager if you can't change any of the other things because you've still got the same players. And I'm sure when we get onto Swindon in a few minutes, Rich will have some very, very deep thoughts on that. But lastly, let's just finish off yesterday. Moment of the match. Anything you like. Gabriel, if I start with you, what was your moment of the match for Sutton yesterday?
I don't know. The chance that we had with Omari Patrick.
Omari hitting the bar, yeah?
It's a good flow. Yeah.
Cool. Joe?
Good flow. We looked good.
Yeah, cool. Joe, what was yours?
Okay, right. The link up between the back and forth that some of our fans and the Forest Green fans, there are not many of them that they had at the start to middle of the second half. I thought was quite entertaining.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a scintillating affair, so it livened it up a bit.
No problem. Well, mine's going to be Rob's corner that he nearly dipped in. And then, unfortunately, the next three corners he got further and further away. He's like, hang on, you almost scored from the first one. Couldn't you just make that your sighter? But Rob, where he almost went in and the keeper had to sort of flap at it, but he did save it. But now we are going to move on to Swindon. And we're going to bring in Rich. Hello, Rich. How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
There is a little bit of a delay, so I'll factor that in when I'm asking your questions. So, as I alluded to, last time we spoke, you were pointing out that Swindon haven't had a manager reach 100 games in about 10 years, and you were very, very hopeful that Jody Morris could be that man. How'd that work out?
Not well is the answer to that. In short, it was an absolute disaster from pretty much game one all the way to the end, bar a big win at AFC Wimbledon. It just clicked. Jody Morris didn't seem bothered, and Swindon Town didn't seem to be too bothered either. And as a result, it was just a complete nightmare. But Mike Flynn, well, we'll see. But it's been a good start for Michael Flynn at Swindon, so I am hopeful. But one of the joys of coming on this Sutton effort is usually you're also buoyant with enthusiasm because you're just happy to be in the EFL. And now you're part of the furniture. It's not fun losing, is it?
I'm still quite happy. I don't care really. But yeah, it's a bit of a change looking through some of the Twitter comments and whatnot. And you're like, what the hell is all this rubbish? I've never heard this before. But I know you've been on a couple of times for me, and thank you very much and your patience today. But just tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been supporting, and what kind of got you started and hooked on Swindon.
Yeah, no problems. So I've been supporting Swindon since November 1990 actively. That was when I went to my first game, but I was probably a Swindon fan for a couple of years before that because my dad told me to. I am a Wiltshireman, so Wiltshire being the home of Swindon, that's how I've got it. I would be Swindon, and here I am. And I've been pretty diehard since, but not a super regular to the county ground over the years. I've only just become a season ticket holder in the last couple of seasons. I've lived away, So haven't got down there as much. And I was the sort of person when I was younger who had to work on Saturdays. So it was always a bit of an issue. I've been doing the Loathed Strangers podcast since I started doing it in about 2017, went live in about 2018. And we've been doing it ever since. And we've seen it all, really. We've seen promotion, relegation, courtrooms, fines paid by pennies, defenders with soulful singing voices, and everything in between. So as the old cliche set goes, never a dull moment. And that's certainly the case at Swindon.
So you've hinted at a few there, but what's your favourite go-to Swindon memory? What's the one when people say, why Swindon?
Well, why Swindon? It's because of my dad, unfortunately. But the things that keep you... What Swindon are very good at for generations is just when it looks like people will walk away, they give you just a massive season. When I was growing up, Swindon were good. So we had like Lou Macari, onto Ozzy Ardiles, onto Glenn Hoddle, a Premier League season, and then we had a couple of relegations, but then a fun mid sort of point where things were good in 95, 96. And then it's been pretty bleak throughout since about 1998, 99. And then every now and again, when fans look like they're on the brink of just packing it all in, we have one season that keeps us all going. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I wouldn't say I've ever been tempted to walk away from Swindon, and our support at the moment is actually very good, considering we're not having the greatest of times. But I mean, we've won at Wembley, one of the great playoff finals. The Canio season from beginning to end was our mini Wrexham, I suppose. The only difference is it wasn't a documentary, but the amount of noise we had that year was pretty exciting and pretty crazy, and it ended exactly how most anticipated, which was with spectacular decline, which Wrexham fans might need to gear themselves up for one day. But yeah, I think it's just the little things. We don't have a huge amount of events with Swindon. We've had great games, some great moments, but it's just been so busy. I could give you a list, and you've asked me a very basic question, and I've failed to give you anything other than ramble on. Let's say Wembley '93, Leicester.
No worries. So onto the season, you've kind of said it's not been great, but it's not been that bad. But what's kind of the highs and lows for this season? I'm guessing your former manager getting tonked 6-0 was quite nice.
Very satisfying indeed. Yeah, this season has actually been really quite nice. Last season was our second worst season in the current format of the Football League. So that's where I referenced that. This year, though, has been good. We play pretty exciting attacking football, quite relentless, but we also are quite open, as you would have seen by our results at the back too. And we've seemed to have weathered that storm a little bit as our back three get to know each other a little bit more. They're getting used to each other. And Doncaster this weekend was a bit of an odd one, really. That just seemed like a bad day at the office for both sides. Neither of us, we looked a little fatigued after 2 really quite hectic weeks with back-to-back games. But the big difference from last season is our attacking. And we showed that off at Wrexham, but we conceded the goals too. And we certainly showed that in the second half against Scott Lindsay's Crawley. And Crawley were absolutely disgustingly bad, but we didn't give an inch to them. And I think if we won that 10-0, nobody would have said that was a poor reflection of the second half, because we destroyed them.
There was one fan that would have been upset if it went beyond 6-0, wasn't it? Because very well publicised bet.
Oh yes, of
dad's
course.
Birthday.
That is incredible. It's incredible because it was for his dad's 60th, so they bet 6-0, and 10 years before they bet for 5-0 because it was his 50th, and that came through. And if they did the same 20 years ago for his 40th, it was also 4-0 that weekend, but I don't think they did it for that one.
No,
absolutely crazy. The 10 years before that, we were in the Premier League, and I can assure you we definitely didn't win 3-0 that season at any point. So.
Okay, so we're Ask you a slightly odd question now. So for Sutton, how do we win this game? What needs to go wrong from your point of view for us to get a result?
Well, Doncaster had 10 men, and although I don't think they really came close to winning, they nullified Swindon's attack pretty well. But I'm still yet to decide whether they did a great job or we just looked a little bit tired. We leave a lot of open spaces in our defence. We like to surge forward. The amount of times you'll see our front three with the ball just steaming on. And if you were to get the ball off us at that stage, we are wide open. We haven't been exploited in that sense yet. I don't know why. We've played some pretty okay teams, but we are there for the taking defensively if we stick to this current game plan, which is very exciting to watch, but we are not watertight at the back yet. And if you can find those spaces and just play the ball around and get through us, then you'll get chances. You will get chances, but we're getting away with it to a degree, and our back three are improving. But those are the ways. Counter-attack. I don't know if you play any form of counter-attack in football, but if you did, then you can do that.
Yeah, it's pretty much our default. So Joe, hearing that, what do you think we need to do to win or get a result, not even win?
I'd take a draw. A draw would be lovely. The only Swindon game I've seen is I watched the game at your place last year, 3-2, and it was a very end-to-end game, 5 goals, and unfortunate goalkeeping mistakes, goals from distance. It had a lot. I think you mentioned about counter-attacking. I do think we have the capability to counter-attack. It's whether I don't think that's naturally part of our tactic, though. I don't think it's inherent that we are a counter-attacking team. We don't really sit back. We sit pretty high up. So I think maybe that's something to change. I think the ability's there. I think that we have the players, and I think it could be a close game because I think we know we can play some good football. It's just whether do the Wycombe team and the Cambridge team and the Notts team turn up, or do the Forest Green team turn up? And that's kind of what it is right now. We could blow you away. We could have a really good game, and you could have the guest on here next week, Mike, and you'd be all buoyant, like you said. Or we could be having a very much more somber conversation. Yeah. I'm really not quite sure what to go.
Gabriel, what do you think needs to happen for Sutton to win? Or result, I say.
Well, if you speak about counterattacks, our best counter-attacking players in these years were, in my opinion, Donovan Wilson and Isaac Olafi. We don't have them both. And I feel like we're still missing a striker with numbers. We all hope that Harry Smith brings these numbers this year, but he had also that red card that stopped him when he was in his best moment. He does help a lot. He put the assist for the goal on Tuesday. He put the assist for O'Brien at the beginning of the game today. But I'm not sure if we have yet the two figures strikers yet.
Yeah.
We have to be organized defensively. If we held the 0-0 for 60 minutes, spaces are gonna appear, and we could use that. We have quality players, but they need to show consistency. You had a fantastic game from Omari Patrick against Notts County. You had Kashket again against Notts County, who was impressive. But they need to play. We had Angol, who started so well in spring for us, and now he seems to be unable to score again. You know, we lack consistency. They all have quality, but they don't have consistency yet.
Well, I don't think we want consistency from the last few weeks, because obviously that would be consistently poor side. We need to change that. And by counter-attack, obviously we don't have much possession. I always worry whenever I see the stats and we've got more possession than the other teams. I'm like, we don't want the ball. You have the ball, we'll hit you on the break. But are there? I know some fans don't feel a lot of love for little old Sutton, but is it going to be a nightmare if we do get another result against you, or is it just going to be one of the points of the season?
I think it's a stage of the season where it's just going to be, there's going to be results like it, and I think that's what most people have seen this weekend at Doncaster Rovers, a place where, you know, historically Doncaster is always a tricky one, home or away for us, and we would have taken that result all day long if before the game it's just that they went down to 10 men just before halftime, which kind of makes you think, oh, it was there for the taking. But we've had two good performances at home so far this season, 2-2 draw against Crewe, which we threw away, and then the 6-0 against Crawley. And I think generally the fans are behind Michael Flynn. I think they're fully behind Michael Flynn. And it's not always going to go your way. I think so many football fans live in the moment too much and forget that it's a 46-game season. You're not going to get perfect. Played 46, won 46. There will be losses. So I think what you're implying, like, oh my goodness, the embarrassment, the shame, we've lost to Sutton. I don't think that will be the driving issue. If we lose against Sutton, having just drawn to Doncaster, the biggest narrative is the fact that we let our fourth choice attacking player leave and didn't replace them on deadline day. Of course, we might make free agent signings in the meantime, but the lack of depth at Swindon, combined with a lack of form, is why Swindon fans will probably be negative, and it won't be to do with Sutton per se.
I do like that. People need to remember its ups and downs, because as I was leaving yesterday, I met a fan with his son, and his son was obviously very upset that we'd lost. All his mates support Man City and so on at school, and I was like, but Josh, you can mention to them that you were at the game. You were actually at a game of football. You weren't just watching it on telly. So going to any game of football, whatever happens, is always better than watching it on TV. Right. So next little bit, I've invented this lovely new system that you are able to get into that changing room 30 seconds before the team goes out on the pitch. You get to give them the last seconds instructions and a prediction. So I'll start with you, Joe. What's your chat to the team and predictions? Hang on, before you start, hopefully on screen is going to be another one of those lovely codes that I've got. And this is the Prediction League. So if you click it or photograph it or whatever, you should get to join the form for the Prediction League. Not you guys now, but people watching back. Anyway, Joe, go on, crack on and tell me what's your chat to the team and your prediction, please.
Chat to the team. I don't know what to say. Do it for Matt, because I don't want to see him leave. Do it for the supporters, and you know, you've come to mighty old Sutton, and we never said it would be easy. And you know, just you're a group of players who you don't have the ability, I don't think, to be 23rd or in the bottom two. We have the ability to be fighting mid-table playoff. So show the supporters, the fans, and the manager especially today that and why he's brought you in. And prediction. I really want to be optimistic here. Let's go for a... You know what? I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
1-1
because I'm wanting a point.
Lovely. You need to work on your 30-second timing, but other than that, that's lovely. Well done. Gabriel, what would you say to the team just before they go out, and your score prediction, please?
You guys have what it takes to win. You have proven it against Notts County. You have proven it against Cambridge. You have proven it against Wycombe. Just need to be there and to fight for it.
Beautiful. And your prediction?
Don't know. A win is so long overdue. I don't want to predict that because we're not in a good strike. We're on a losing strike, but I'm hoping for a win.
Okay. What, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1? No one's putting money on it. Don't worry. You could say anything you like. No one's actually going to go with this. They'd be mad. Although Jenny got it right the other week. Rich, what are you going to say to your team? This is for your own team, not Sutton. And the score prediction for you.
Am I supposed to be the baddie in this? Because do you want me to just say, lads, it's Sutton and 4-0? Is that what you want me to do?
Whatever you want to say.
Because I'm not that sort of fan, but yeah, I'm going to go with lads, it's Sutton 4-0, and you can soundbite this in the future and mock me forevermore, and I deserve it too.
Wow.
I don't think that in real life.
His at will be in the Twitter by now. I'm going to go just completely. I've not got any of these anywhere near right, so I'm just going to be insane, and I'm going to go with 5-5. Very exciting game of football. Yes. We're all going to leave very happy, and we can all get on with our lives. So,
don't mind it.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone will be happy with that. Matt probably would still sulk about that, letting in 5 goals, and Jack Rose definitely would not be happy with 5 goals. But thank you very much, gents. Thanks for being my guinea pigs on here. We have wrapped up this episode of Sutton United Talk Time on Podcast. As always, appreciate your ear attention and all the feedback. Follow us, like, share, and do all the normal things on social media. Joe, you don't need to sigh and roll your eyes every time, okay? It's funny.
I was waiting for it.
Don't forget to subscribe and all the rest of it. Thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Big thank you to you guys, Gabriel, Joe, and Rich. And we hope everyone's enjoyed listening. We might be back on Wednesday with a chat to the academy coaches, but there's a little bit of a scheduling problem at the moment. But for definite, I will be back on Sunday and have... oh, God, I didn't write it down. I can't remember who I've got with me on Sunday, but I've got a panel definitely on Sunday. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot and take care. Bye-bye.